is up, Brews and Brewdettes? It's the Pico Dudes. I'm Sam Rathert, and with me is the co-host who hates the goes. It's Jeremy Hidalgo.
I'm pretty sure everybody hates the goes.
No, somebody is buying the goes. I know, because it keeps appearing in stores.
Next up on the Pico Dudes, we're going to start the Goza Challenge.
The goes challenge. But we're not alone today. Who's with us?
We have Quechu Trevino.
Trevino, nicely done.
Inventor, creator, and overall genius behind the tap room, which you can find at taproom.club.
Taproom.club.
And today, we're serving the two reds that we've brewed on our Pico with the tap room.
This is red versus red, head to head. This is the first of the PicoPaks we got from Pico Brew to say, hey, try these out, put them on the podcast, tell everyone what you think of them.
Yep, exactly. So we thought, what better way to do it than order two reds, brew them on two separate Picos, put them together, serve them the same way, force carbonate them the same way, and see which one of the two of us is a better Pico brewer.
Oh, no, don't go there. You just made me force carbonate my first time.
I thought maybe you invited Mr. Ed into the room. I wasn't sure what that was.
No, I'm nervous is what that is, because I'm a very competitive person, and we've already gotten a sniff and look at yours, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about the way it turned out.
But we're also we're using Quechu's taproom system today to serve our beers.
Yeah, and not only are we using it, but we're using it on two different style of kegs.
Oh yeah,
we've got a Pico Pro ball lock keg, which has the Coronado Mermaids red in it, and then we've got your Pico C serving keg,
ORB session red.
Awesome. So, without further ado, let's jump into the.
Let's talk about reviews. So
Yeah.
we're going to start with yours because you're already hooked up here, and you've made today. What have you made for us? Who's made it, and what have you made?
Coronado Brewing Mermaid Red,
All right.
or Mermaids Red. And so Coronado Brewing, they opened a brew pub in Coronado Island in 1996, and it was started by two brothers, Ron and Rick Chapman. And
the Chapman brothers.
yes, the Chapman brothers. So they started a brew pub in 96. I looked at the website, and those were the main facts that I was able to glean. So we'll go with that. Much more detail on the Mermaids Red itself.
Tell us about the beer.
Yeah, so the Mermaids Red is inspired by the Siren song. It's got some sweet taffy malts, kind of a seductive red hue, about 17 on the SRM scale.
Sounds very specific.
Very.
Did you write that yourself?
Totally. Totally wrote it down after I read it off of their website.
Okay.
It is for a red, it's hoppy because you dry hop it. It's got some Pacific Northwest hops in there for a big citrus kind of pine aroma and a nice dry finish. And we're
going to find out.
We are going to find out.
Gonna find out. So, did you say how you brewed it? How did it turn out on ABVs, IBUs?
Yeah, so I brewed this one. I didn't mess with the recipe at all.
Good.
I put the I took, this was one of the first ones. I had bought this thing called a Cool Brew, and it's essentially a bag that's insulated, and I took that and put the
your brewing keg in it.
I put the brewing keg in it where I fermented it, and I put it in there to maintain. Thanks for the help.
We have been participating in the brews so far.
Multiple beers today.
So this was an idea. So we keep hearing, and Mike really drove this point home, that fluctuating up and down during your fermentation cycle is not good for your brew. It's really going to affect the yeast. It's going to torture them in a way, make them do things you don't want them to do. So the idea is to try and keep the temperature as even as possible. And so you came up with using this bag, this sort of a temperature insulated bag to put your brew keg in, right?
Correct. And so it did help even out the peaks and valleys. There was still some temperature fluctuations. I'm going to have to beep that one out.
Yes.
But
that was for the kids.
Yeah. Only fluctuating about 2 to 2.5 degrees on this one.
Okay.
Just between 68 and 70. So
every morning when the heat comes back on and at night after it drops off.
Yeah, it was actually a little bit more sensitive than that. So it was more like when the heat turned on and then turned off.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Well, but not in the morning and in the evening,
Okay.
but literally throughout the day.
Okay.
So it's and I measured this using my Pico brew. So
it's definitely accurate.
Sorry, the Pico Firm. So when I put the Pico Firm on a ball lock keg, the difference between that and putting it on a Pico C keg is that when you put it on a Pico C keg, there's the gray keg seal that has the balloon.
The balloon goes into the keg.
It actually measures the temperature inside the keg.
Pressure.
I think when you're on a Pico Pro, I think it's actually measuring the ambient temperature. I don't think there's any way for it to measure the air inside the keg's headspace. So anyways, so I did notice that there was less fluctuation on the outside thermometer that I had. And in tasting the beer, I think it turned out pretty well. So anyways, the alcohol by volume came out to about 5.7. The IBUs are at 46. And I think we mentioned before, the SRM is about 17.
I figured 17 when I looked at it.
Yep. Because
17.2.
You've got the chart memorized.
It's about where I'm at on this.
So we're gonna taste it. Mm-hmm. Sam and I are gonna give our impressions, and Ketchu's also gonna rate it for us.
So talk about pouring it out of the system though. So it was a very easy pour, and what really kind of got me is Ketchu. I got to watch him use his system.
We'll post a video on the as a companion to the podcast.
And everything was pouring really nice and really smooth. And then he did some like he threw it in reverse, and the gears went whoop, and this beautiful like head appeared on top of the beer. And what was that? You called it a.
So the faucet has the normal actuation for serving beer, but if you reverse the lever, so if you push the lever, it creates what they call a creamer action. It essentially is very similar to what a stout faucet would do. So it really turbulence, it mixes the beer and squeezes it, and so a very nice fine foam comes out of the faucet.
So now all your beer can have that thick, creamy, persistent head present on the Dead Guy Ale.
Everyone's craving.
Yeah.
And so, it came out beautifully.
It did. Amazingly.
So what do we want to start with? Just start with this aroma?
Yeah, it is definitely citrus on the nose. Not overpowering like an IPA, but just kind of, it's like, putting not a handful, but a pine tip or something kind of in your hand and then smelling it. Why does that make you laugh? I wasn't aware that pine tips had some weird button with you.
I don't think it was the word. I think it was the cadence in which the words were presented.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I put the emphasis on the wrong syllables?
Yes, you did. So, yeah, great. I'm getting a great aroma, and it's hard for me to describe. And we're looking at doing sort of a hop series because, again, I'm a beginning brewer. I'm learning hops, and we've talked with Mike about, hey, let's make some very basic beers and just use a different hop in each one with the same base of each so that we can start identifying these. But what I'm getting is it is more of a citrus, floral and citrus nose on it.
Yeah. When I first take their drink, I get that initial, it is really almost a pine flavor that I can taste. A little bit of bittering hops that weren't really present in the last red that we tasted, which was the Lucky Envelope.
Yeah.
And this one, the hops are really nice. There's that bitter up front, and then it kind of tails off into that really nice sort of pine, almost a pale ale kind of mouthfeel that you get.
It does. And you said IBUs were right around 50, right?
Right around 50, yeah. So at 46.
Okay.
So it's not overly strong on the IBUs.
Yep.
And
it's force carved. It's got good mouthfeel. I was worried because I think when you first tried to set this up, you may have had some really strong carbonation in it.
Yeah. So the first time I used the tap room,
it's a bomb.
Yeah. I essentially, I think there was a combination of things, and most of them are just like, I'm an idiot. And the second one is my fridge was way too cold. And so my beer absorbed the entire amount of CO2.
It was like...
And Ketchu was awesome. So we kind of texted back and forth.
It was Mr. Creosote from Monty Python. Or have some more, please.
It
just take all of that CO2.
Yeah, it took all of it, and then Ketchy was nice enough to come by yesterday and help kind of even it out so that the podcast would go smooth. Thanks for telling everybody, behind the scenes, like, oh,
It's okay.
Yeah. So anyways, but
welcome.
It was great. He came by, we took a look and, basically figured out that it was so overcarbonated. We still were able to taste a little bit of it and I got a sneak peek. But today, after having, Ketchu dial everything in yesterday, it's perfect.
This is
not a beer I would guess that has been homebrewed.
You could take me to a restaurant and have them serve me something out of the tap, and I often wouldn't expect something like this.
Yeah.
The freshness of it, of course, because it is a fresh beer, and just, again, whatever you did turned out wonderfully in the end.
Yeah, well, I didn't do anything. I think the thing that
I don't know if it's you or the system, but it turned out wonderfully.
Yeah, I really feel that the Pico brew itself does such a good job of controlling the brewing process that it creates beers that are so much closer to production level beers from professional brewers than I could ever get as a home brewer. Now, granted, I had limited experience. I didn't get completely into it like some of the people that I see on the homebrew forums that just
if you would have just put 15 years into it, you could do it.
Yeah, but still, I'm just amazed, and so I do have to look at this through the lens of a beer that I would order and drink, and I think from a rating scale, I would put this right around a 4.5 for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is a beer that I would order multiples of if we're at a bar, or really anywhere. In fact, I think I would also seek it out. If we were if we were somewhere and I saw it on the menu, I'd be excited. If I knew that there was a place that served it, I think I would go drink it.
I can say if it came with chocolate cupcakes, that I would totally, because we have been enjoying it with chocolate cupcakes. I'm like, this is really good together, guys. You know me, I'm not a big IBU guy.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's right at a 4. It is of the reds we've tried so far. We've tried the Lucky Envelope. We've actually had a couple that are directly from the grocery store, if you will, out of the bottle here. And of all of them so far, it's my favorite. Now, we haven't tried mine, which is better, but it's so far my favorite of the reds we've tried.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna call it a 4. It does still have a lot of bite for me, and I'm not used to that yet. So,
yeah. We're gonna have Ketchu go ahead and start swapping over
before he does, I would love to hear his impressions, because he's gotten to enjoy a glass of it too, right?
Yeah.
So what are you finding for you? How is this beer turning out?
It's a really solid beer. When I think of a red ale, I think of a little bit of a malty beer. This one is not that malty, so I would think it's a blend into what you would think a red ale and a slight IPA, because it has that tiny hop kind to it. So if you like IPAs, you like reds,
this is a great beer. This is
kind of somewhere there, not as malty as a normal red that you will have, but it has at the end that IPA hop aroma and taste.
Yeah, definitely the more malty flavors that you typically expect get overpowered by the bitterness up front. And red ales are usually in that 20 to 30, 35% or 35 IBU range. I think the Lucky Envelope one that we tried was right around 36 or so, if I remember right. So
was this a dry hopped beer?
This was dry hopped. And so one thing that I did that I didn't get to talk about, and Kichu, if you want to go ahead and swap over while I'm talking, you may even get to see what I'm talking about. But essentially,
noises more than meets the eye. Is that taken?
Only if you want to get us sued by like Hasbro.
They don't sue anybody.
So
that never happens. I dare you, Hasbro, to sue us right now.
I am totally editing that out. Or maybe not. Depends on how much I drink before I post this. But I used a fermenting bucket. So I had a 2-gallon fermentation.
You did this in the bucket.
I did this in a...
Tell them about the bucket idea, because this was genius and I'm loving it so far.
And earlier I said I did it in the keg, which I didn't.
You're a big liar.
I am a big liar. Yeah. So anyways, we bought these buckets for $6 at our local homebrew shop.
Can I just stop you and point out that Ketchu has already transferred the entire system over to the other keg?
Yeah, you can
How
totally
cool.
do that.
Oh, wait. Oh, that's the last. Don't worry. No one heard that.
That's like zipping up the pants.
It's like zipping down the pants. It's about to get good, ladies and gentlemen.
So, anyways, I actually
But can you edit that out for me, please?
nope, we're leaving that in there. So I actually did transfer this. I racked it into a bucket for fermentation, and
Describe that idea, because as Pico brewers, we get one, or if you're on a pre-order, you bought them, you get 2 brew kegs.
Yep.
And maybe you want to brew more beer than that gives you the opportunity to do.
yeah. So the idea is, I essentially will I will brew a beer. I will take my brew keg and I cool mine immediately. So I've got a sink that I put water and ice into, and then I just set the keg in there and get it down to 68 degrees as quickly as possible. And then from there, I just use the racking feature to rack it into this fermentation bucket, aerate it, and pitch the yeast. And
I'm looking at this monster that he kind of, you see, he got the system swapped over. He's poured off the first draft of it, and he's looking at it like it's like
cat piss.
It's like when you ran into the high school cheerleader you were in love with in high school 20 years later, and she doesn't look the same. That's the look he gave. It's like, oh my God, how many kids have you had? It was the look that he looked at this beer with. Like, I don't even recognize you. Are you a beer? So we're gonna find out.
Yeah. So
No, this might be Ghost Part 2.
oh no. So to finish up the story
I'm sorry,
about
go ahead.
the
Talk about these
serving
containers.
Yeah, basically, I did need to put it back into a Pico Pro keg in order to get force carbonated with the tap room.
But you could have put it in a serving keg, right?
I could have, but
Yep.
I didn't.
Yep.
So,
Because, I mean, you only have a pile of them over here being unused.
well, they weren't unused at the time. I think they still needed to be clean. And I believe at the time, Ketchu also didn't have available, or at least in our text exchanges, he mentioned that he didn't have one of
version
these
for the
available. I think he got one in like right before we met up. And
But
did the
this works
exchange.
with either style.
Yeah, and so basically, I took the bucket. This is not best practice, but I took the bucket because my racking cane didn't work, and I just poured the bucket
Just poured it in.
into the Pico keg, and the dry hops went in with it. The dry hop packet that I put in. I put the dry hop packet in after 3 days of fermentation. So I know there's people that ask, when do you put the dry hops in? And that.
So that's your thing, is after 3. So I put mine in 3 to 4 days before fermentation is scheduled to end.
Yeah, I put mine in 3 days after I started it, which was immediate. Well,
I think you
within
did good.
20 minutes after I brewed it, because I got the temperature down pretty quickly.
Yep.
So anyways, enough about my beer. I'm going to finish off my glass while you introduce your beer, and then I'm going to have Ketchu pour me some.
I'm going to have to figure out a way, because I don't know if I can get through the rest of mine. Yeah, I can't wait to get to this Frankenstein of a beast over here. So
You just have to drink that as fast as you can.
no, I can't.
While you're talking about it.
This is gonna be okay. I'm gonna get a little puppet. Watch this. ORB session red. So when we decided to do this, we said, it'd be kind of fun if we're gonna get 2 packs at a time. Let's get 2 that are the same general style, but enough different that we can compare them against each other and have enough people say, "Oh, that's apples to oranges." You know what? That's great, because those are very easy to compare. So this is the ORB Session Red, and ORB is the Olympic Range Brewing Company.
False. I put 0 oranges or apples in my beer.
So, again,
I had a mouthful of beer, so I couldn't actually say that when I was thinking about it.
Hey, if you could bring a joke in 5 minutes that you think of now, I'd appreciate it. So ORB is sort of well known for creating what they call micro session beers. So session beer, and I'm learning, again, new brewer, I hear this term session beer all the time. I have no idea what a session beer is. I think it's something that you drink while you're playing band guitar, whatever.
I like playing band guitar.
I know you have so many band guitars behind me. And so I went online, I kind of learned what a session beer is. And a session beer is pretty much something you can have 2 or 3 of them in a 3-hour period and still be able to drive yourself home legally. It's something you sit down and enjoy in a session with your friends and still be able to function as a human being.
This smells session-y. Ketchu just poured me a glass.
Did you? I can't wait to find out what session. I really need to finish this giant beer in front of me.
Yeah, you know, I don't actually know what this smells like. I've got
Is that a compliment or is that a...
I'm not sure.
Is that something inhuman?
You're supposed to be chugging that
I
beer.
cannot. I need to be able to walk to the bathroom after I'm done with this. This is our fourth beer.
Do I need to get you more cupcakes?
You might need to give me a wheelchair. I don't know if I'll legally be able to operate it. So, session beer, again, something you can have like 3 beers in 3 hours and still operate with. So they actually, they've gotten in the habit of making micro session beers, which are even lower alcohol. So they have kind of a neat chart on their website. If you go, you'll see if you have a Red Hook ESB, which Red Hook, a big local brewery for us, very popular. If you have 3 pints in 3 hours, you're going to be running about a 0.1% if you're average male, about 0.1% blood alcohol level. Not good. That is not necessarily legal to drive right there. And that is their idea of a session beer, if you will. If you go with the session lager, it's a well-known lager that they have out there, and you have 3 pints in 3 hours, you're going to be running about a 0.08% blood alcohol level. Hey, you're right on the cusp. You're probably still pretty good, but be careful. They make these micro session beers that are lower in alcohol. So a session beer might run 4 to 5% alcohol. Their micro session beers run 2.5 to 4% alcohol usually. So if you have 3 pints of their beer in 3 hours, you're going to be running about a 0.025%.
Nice.
So you're still fully able to drive, yet you're still getting that nice buzz from a good beer and the flavors and hops and all that good stuff you're looking for. So this is not a micro session beer. So I don't know if I turned the dial up.
This is just a regular session beer?
This is a regular session beer. It is called a session red. So
Okay.
this red, ABV of 4.5. So again, this is not a micro session beer. This is definitely, let's have 2 or 0.
Challenge accepted.
And see how we do. IBUs are low. You know me, I'm not a big IBU guy. I don't really like a beer that punches me in the face. I want something I can sit back and drink and enjoy. So for me, IBU of 27, I said, hey, I'm okay with that. Let me try that. And an SRM of 16. So I think you've beaten me in all 3 categories. You scored higher in all 3. Now, I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm watching you look at this with your I've never seen this before eyes.
No,
it actually looks, hold on, we can do a side by side. Do these look a different color? Ketchu, what do you think?
Wow.
I think yours is a bit darker.
Yeah, I actually
it ended
think
up
your
darker.
SRM is probably more around 18.
Yeah.
If indeed the one that I made is 17.
Do you know why that might be?
Nope, I don't.
Because this guy, Jeremy Hidalgo, tells me, hey, we got a podcast coming up this weekend. We're going to have this awesome guy I met on who does this taproom thing, and you need to bring a beer. And I said, I've got one in a brewing keg, but I haven't racked it yet. And then I still have to force carbonate it. And you're like, oh, well, you got 5 days, get to it. I did not cold crash before I racked.
Oh.
And that could be contributing some to both the flavor, which I'm just watching faces. It's, man, I can't wait for the goes to follow this. It could be contributing to the flavor.
The goes with the mosed.
Oh, and a bit to the cloudiness. That might not be color. That might be cloudy that you're seeing in there.
It's a little cloudy.
It's a little cloudy. So that is me rushing things because, oh gosh, I'm not thinking things through. I do, if you go on our Facebook, you'll see I've actually put pictures up of what cold crashing, why you do it. And I did everything in clear vessels so you can see sort of the progression of a habitus.
Yeah, and this is also the first beer that you've ever force carbonated.
Oh, yes, that was an adventure. So I did go on to Pico Brew's website, and again, after he tells me, hey, you got to have your beer ready, I'm like, I need 2.5 more weeks. No, how about 4 days? I got the... I did get the regulator, the CO2 cartridges, and put that on. So I've been force carbonating it for 3 or 4 days. Appears that it's coming out of the tap room perfectly for carbonation, and I don't know. I haven't tried it yet.
It's well carbonated,
but it appears I need a jug to pour the rest of this into.
Here, I'll be your jug.
Oh,
you keep talking.
Are we trading? Oh my goodness. This man, if we had a boot,
oh God,
he'd be passing the test right now. He is my hero. Jeremy Hidalgo, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Oh my. The fists are pumping. All right, pour me off a little bit of this horrible beast that I've created. And there's a wince. He's wincing as he pours this beer. I cannot wait to... I don't need a full glass of it. I mean, I just... it's...
Give him a full glass.
If it's gonna do it, is that the penalty?
He deserves
No.
this beer in all its glory.
All right, so thank you. You did that lovely creamy head on top of it. So it looks better than it tastes. I'm just guessing.
How come he gets less?
Oh my!
I'm just kidding.
I'm announcing Jeremy as the winner right now. But I'm gonna try this beer. Jeremy, why don't you start and tell me what you think of this beer? I worked so hard on, and I did it for you. And if this doesn't work out, I'm quitting the podcast. Tell me about this beer.
I am looking at this beer flavor map right now, trying to figure out what this smells like. Catchy, maybe you have... Don't slam it down. Catchy, maybe you have some insights.
Just pass the buck. Oh,
no,
Catchy, please save us. What does this smell like?
I'm gonna bite right now.
It's
pass.
I mean, it's a hop, but it's more of a...
It smells kind of like dirty glass. Does it smell like dirty glassware?
I didn't want to say that, but
it smells like if you had dirt, like you had a beer last night and you get up the next day and you grab the glass and you smell it. That's kind of the smell I'm getting out of this right now.
Yeah, I think that's kind of right where I'm at. It's like we're sock.
Does that smell like oxen that are mating? Is that what I'm getting?
I don't have any frame of reference for that.
Yeah, we raised a lot of oxen when I was young, so
that's kind of, man, it's got this almost like sweet. I don't know, dude. I think we gotta. I'm gonna give you the brew cool bag brew.
I think we need more information on how this was fermented and more information on the background of this beer, so we can better understand.
Where did you ferment this? Do you have any idea on where did you use your Pico firm or
in my house?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I did
right next to the dirty laundry.
I don't know how I'm supposed to take that.
I'm just kidding.
It did ferment in my house. So I used my Pico firm. It's the first time I used my Pico firm.
Okay.
So use the Pico firm on it. I saw swings from 66 degrees to 73 degrees. So I don't think a 7-degree swing is good for your beer. And I think
not ideal.
When you speak of torturing your yeast, I mean, I went Game of Thrones on this yeast. I mean,
you cut its head off and put it on a spike.
For
its daughter to see.
Pretty much. It's not dead, but it did come back with a higher pitched voice. This is the yeast that I have done in this beer. So,
all right. So, honest opinion,
but it's not all bad.
It's not all bad.
I mean, it's still liquid.
It has no. It's not quite that bad. I think it has. I think it has
rotten chocolate milk.
Some fermentation.
Is that it? It smells like rotten chocolate milk.
I would say it probably would have benefited from a few extra days.
Well, somebody rushed me.
There is a little bit of a diacetyl flavor.
Is that? Yeah.
On the back end of it,
and the front and the sides.
I even picked it up a little bit. Like the first time I smelled it, I was. Keep in mind, I brewed mine a day after you brewed yours. So I think this is one of those instances where we get to understand the value of keeping and maintaining a constant temperature during your fermentation.
You're using facts against me right now.
Well, it's not fake news.
Learning opportunity.
Learning opportunity. Yes. So. I have 3 beers that I am going to be brewing up tomorrow, in fact. So the Pico will be running nonstop, and I've got a cooler setup I've created with liquid in it. So this is an idea that we got when talking to Mike Brennan about using water as a heat sink.
Oh yes.
So it was, hey, I've got these big coolers. I'm gonna set it in. It set up so the liquid comes just shy of coming over the top of your brewing keg. And even when the temperature of the room that they're in goes up and down, that liquid is much slower to absorb changes either upper or lower in temperature. So I've got my Pico Firm ready. I'm going to have 2 brewing kegs and possibly a bucket going, and we're going to try out, and I'm going to match and see how the temperature fluctuations do with that, because I got 3 women in my household. And
what's that like?
I have no idea. None of us know.
It's too cold in here.
Wait, 3 of us know.
All the time, yes. All
And
3 of us
every one
know
of them
that.
can reach the thermostat. So
Yes.
for us, it's
Can we start placing the thermostats much higher?
so I'm going to have to do something to get better control of this temperature the yeast is going through. I'm very worried because we have our bourbon porters coming up next week. And this could be an utter disaster, let alone the overabundance of vanilla that I think appear in mine.
You know, I'm pretty sure I put more vanilla in mine than I was supposed to as well.
Are you pretty sure of that?
But you know the cool thing about bourbon porters? Bring a bottle of the porter that you put in each one of yours, and then we can always add more bourbon.
If
So,
I don't know if that's better.
by the way, you have to leave your keys here. Just bring your whole family. You guys can stay that night. You can have a whole bottom area of our
Uber
house.
still gets out to our neighborhood. We'll be okay.
There you go.
But do you want to try and describe this beer? Do you think I stepped in it so bad that I have not done ORB fairly with their...
I think we should revisit this one, but it's not horrible. So I think I'm getting... there are some things that would be... that would improve the flavor
What
of
would
it.
those be?
Well, not having a co-host that rushes you on your fermentation.
I agree.
Not having a 9-degree temperature swing. Is that about
7 or 8?
7 or 8? Okay.
I think what Mike said is anything more about 1.5 to 2 is really bad for you. So.
And ideally don't have any.
Yeah, you want it to stay within 1 degree up and down.
So beyond that, I think if we would have tried this one first, no, I'm not saying
We would have just quit brewing altogether. This would have been our final episode.
no. I think chocolate cupcakes, other reds, perhaps some other beers provided by actual professional breweries prior, maybe doing this beer a little bit of a disservice. There's a few off flavors in it, but it's not as if I'm not gonna finish this glass.
Wait. Really?
Yeah, and this is a really full glass.
Big glass.
I will finish this. It's no Kimmy Yink and the Holy Goza. So it's I think the way they make it a session beer is you don't want to drink more than 1 glass of it. So you're totally safe to drive home.
Thanks,
hours
Bud, for
later.
that beer. Oh, I'll be heading home now.
I'm just kidding. That's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a really. It would be interesting. You fermented this using the Pico firm.
Yes.
I think this calls for forensics. So
It
if
does.
we could have your data on that Pico firm.
Yep.
So we understand which PicoPak you did.
Mm-hmm.
We understand the data from the Pico firm. It would be interesting to understand that and then put it out to everybody.
All right, I'll post
and
it.
perhaps we can do some group forensics on what went weird with this beer.
It might have been me, but no, I think this is like saying, "Hey guys, we got to figure out what happened to this body. It clearly fell from 70 stories up and hit the ground." I don't think forensics needs to be called. This body has just.
I was just trying to be nice.
I so appreciate it. But, it landed on that car and then it kind of bounced off onto the sidewalk. We all see what happened here, right?
Next time, don't dry hop it with your balls.
Jesus, man. I'm not sure worse or better, but because I was rushed, because he rushed me, I was planning like having another week. So after I racked into the serving keg, I just stuffed all the dry hop into it. So it's all in here right now. That might not have been the best way to do it. I've heard people who do dry hop in the serving keg.
Yeah, my dry hops are still in the serving keg.
But that was not intentional.
No, it wasn't.
We're the worst brewers ever.
Oh, but this is so much fun. So what we should do is maybe, if ORB isn't completely disgusted by this review, they can send us a bottle of what it's supposed to taste like.
Oh yeah.
And we could compare it. And I'm guessing it's probably a little bit different than what we've got here.
Is that what you guess?
If it's not, then I'm gonna recommend you don't go out of your way to buy that beer.
If you don't want to get drunk, drink this beer. This is a great beer to give your kids right as they start reaching that age where they might think about drinking.
Yes.
Like, hey kids, why don't you have a beer with dad?
That's like,
and they're gonna
giving your kid a cigar and telling him to inhale because this is what smoking is.
But it's a cigar full of pine tar and grass.
And formaldehyde. Oh wait, that's how they're created.
Well, so do you want to maybe skip our star rating on this one since it wouldn't be as fair to the beer? Or would you like to judge me to my face?
I will judge you to your face. I will say, as per brewed by Sam Rathert, ORB gets a 1.5.
I was going to be at a 1.5 also, which means I could finish it, but if you offered me a second one, I'm going to decline.
How about a Coronado Mermaids red?
Catch you. How long do you think it'd take you to transfer the other keg back in?
It'll be one second. Don't worry.
15 seconds,
Yeah,
and we can be drinking.
a snap. Don't worry.
We could have good beer again. Oh, please. Excellent. Well, I don't think there's anything in here that won't fit down your drain, so we should be good. Is there anything else that we want to hit today? Talk about what's coming up in some of these future episodes. We still have the big vanilla bourbon porter face-off coming, right?
The vanilla bourbon porter off, yes.
Yours against mine. And
Yes.
I'm already expecting a second horribly devastating loss.
No,
Not
the case.
I am.
Wait, did you use the Pico firm on that one? Do we know how big a temperature swings you had?
Same house, same family.
Are you placing your fermenting vessel directly on your heating vent?
Wait. So I've been doing this for a while, and we have had other beers I've made
That have turned out fantastic.
that have been fantastic.
Yeah.
So I can't all be. I did not ferment this as long as I'd like. Now the Pico firm feels to me like it cuts you short. It almost feels like it's like, oh, your beer's ready, and I'm like, oh, really? That was like 5 days, Pico firm. Come on,
10 days. Go 10 days.
So that's my concern is I did as soon as Pico firm said it's ready, I was like, all right, pop it off, let's get ready. And I think it was too fast.
Yeah, even Mike Brennan with Pico Brew suggested that you wait till your Pico firm says it's done and then leave it a few days longer.
3-4 more days at least, and let it sit there a little bit longer. So I think that's one lesson to take. I'm not sure. Others, please cold crash your beer before you rack it.
Or potentially ORB just doesn't make that good of a Pico pack. I don't know.
I don't think we can blame them.
I don't think we can either.
This is my fault. These are beautiful bubbles, by the way. I'm looking at these.
It's nicely carbonated, by the way.
It is quite nicely carbonated.
It is
Actually,
like, you've seen that beautiful car, right? And you see that Subaru BRZ, and it's just a gorgeous car, and it looks fast, and it looks awesome. And then you get in it and drive it, and you're like, oh, my sedan is so much faster. Is this what we're looking at here? Is this a Subaru BRZ?
This is a Subaru BRZ. Where you look at it from the outside, you get in and you push down the gas pedal in first gear, and you are
like,
instantly
when's
disappointed.
When's it go? Wait, what point does this start to accelerate?
Did you say 0 to 60 in 7 point something? Because fuck that.
I mean, my minivan is faster than that. I feel that's what I'm doing here, and it might have been my engine because again, it's beautiful. It came out of our tap room wonderfully. Much better than I expected in my first forced carbonation ever, knowing nothing.
Yeah.
And
You nailed that, by the way.
the mouthfeel. Let me wait. Can I wait? Hold on.
Does it feel like beer in your mouth?
It does. It feels like a perfectly made beer in my mouth if I didn't have taste buds. This is about as good as a beer gets if you had no sense of taste.
You know, if we keep drinking this and we don't drink or taste anything else for a while,
It's actually getting better.
yeah, it is getting better.
That's what I call camping hot. Like you go camping for a week, and you've been camping for a week, and a new family pulls up next to you, and you look over, and you're like, not bad. You're like, I better look at that picture later because I'm going to be devastated when I say, this is camping good.
ORB, folks, just keep drinking till it's a 5-star beer.
Just keep drinking. This is 2 a.m., 7 drinks in. Nobody else is still at the bar. Take it home. Kind of beer.
It is getting better. It feels like
Sure is.
it feels like it's being served through dirty keg hoses or something. But
What's that syndrome when you've been captured by a person?
Stockholm,
Is
yes.
this the Stockholm syndrome of beer?
we have bashed your beer so much that now we're sympathizing with the liquid in our glass.
It's not such a bad beer. I mean,
It's totally
keeps
been
getting in our
oppressed.
mouths.
Yeah, it keeps.
It's making me feel good. I mean, this beer isn't all bad.
Keep drinking, guys. Keep drinking.
Yep. I noticed you've stopped, Kitchu.
Yeah, why don't you pour yourself another tall
Way
glass
more
of this
intelligent
beer?
than we are.
Someone smarter
Doing
than us.
fine, doing fine. Thank you very much.
He's waiting till we hook up the Mermaids red.
We
again.
are. So we're going to swap back to that, and we'll enjoy that on our own. Should we let everyone go from this disaster?
It hasn't been a disaster. It's been a great day, great time, great opportunity to see what the tap room can do for us and compare a couple of reds.
Yeah, and a great opportunity to catch up with Ketchu.
Thank you very much
Absolutely.
for having me.
Absolutely. And you've taught us a new phrase because you spent, 2-3 years? How many years you spent in Germany?
I was student change.
Okay.
Student change. I was living in near Stuttgart, so the southern eastern part of Germany.
By where they make the Porsches.
By where
By
they make
where
all
they
the
make
good
Porsches.
cars.
Yep.
So I have a good phrase for when you're having to toast with a Hefeweizen kind of glass,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes like so: Die Frauen und die Weizen von hinten sind besser. Sam just learned that one,
Die Frauen und die Weißen von hinten sind besser.
and that is
Yeah.
when you're cheering with a Hefeweizen glass, which is very light at the top,
The
very
big,
heavy at the
tall
bottom.
glass, skinny at the bottom with the heavy bottom. Yep.
You always prost it, cheer it.
Put us with the
or-
bottom. There you
Exactly.
go.
Cheers from the bottom.
And it
from the
means
bottom.
what?
It means the girls und the Hefeweizen beers are better from the bottom.
Just not the ORB.
Well, gents, die Frauen und die Weißen von hinten sind besser.
You heard it here first, folks. On that note, we'll tell you where you can find us. Pico Dudes.
Out.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Pico Dudes podcast. Connect with us at picodudes.com, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And if you enjoyed our show, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, but mostly iTunes. Also, if you want a code that will help give you some discounts off of the Pico Brew equipment, Z150D equals $150 off of the Z Series. Pro 125D gives you $125 off of the Pico Pro, and C75D gets you $75 off of your purchase of a Pico C. We hope you enjoy listening. Look forward to hearing from you. Pico Dudes out.